From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my co-host, Joshua Force Multiplier Bevan.
Force multiplier?
Yes.
Why am I the force multiplier?
Because you just make everything bigger and better.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that wasn't the answer, though.
No, I think it's a military term.
Yeah, it probably is.
Like something makes weaponry.
Okay.
It's like a force multiplier. Yeah.
Force multiplier. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I heard it. We haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, Tip-Sters, because we both had some like sinusy, cold allergies. I sounded more like a man, and probably Joshua sounded more like a girl.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is our problem.
Yeah. Constantly. And I didn't want people to think Joshua was hosting and Melissa was going, what? Someone died? Again this week?
We could switch roles. It's one of those.
Because I sound like a dude. Yeah.
It's one of those like Freaky Friday.
Yes, totally. Complete and utter Freaky Friday. So again, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Graveline Tours. And I want to say thank you to Adam for a magnificent holiday dinner he had for a small group of us at the end of December. It was lovely. And the Black Dahlia Tour launches on the 15th of January in 2024.
Oh.
I know, they got the launch date.
Oh.
Adam is just as handsome and sweet and wonderful in person as he is. I've only seen him, like in videos and in pictures, and we text all the time like lost family members. And I would absolutely love to adopt him. He's just the best. So it was at this funky restaurant that used to be the Cat and the Fiddle in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. No, on Sunset, I think. And it's super cool. It's called Superba.
Okay.
And they have different outlets. I guess there's one in like maybe Venice or Santa Monica, but I cannot hardly wait to go back. And the food was so goddamn good and different and unique and weird. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And I loved every goddamn thing. It was so good and so different and unique. And he had gotten a little separate room, and it's a huge restaurant. They have a big patio and everything. But we were in this little separate room, and I walked in and he was surrounded by, 3 or 4 people who were just all up in his grill that are his friends. And he like broke away and he's like, Melissa. And he comes over and hugs me and he's like, you're beautiful. And I was like, why can't he be my son? I mean, I was like, he is just the sweetest, best guy in the whole world. So if you ever want to take a Graveline tour, if you're in Southern California, in the promo code area, put Tipster40, you get a 40% off discount for any of the tours. I'm so excited about the Black Dahlia tour. I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about this.
But you're going to do it anyway.
I'm going to. There's some. I won't give the details. But there's exciting things happening for Graveline. A large studio is developing a animated horror television show, and a big star is the lead voice, and they want to tie in with Graveline.
Cool.
Some of the executives have taken the tour.
Okay.
And said they want to mention some of the stops in the show.
Oh, right on.
Every good thing he deserves.
Sweet.
He deserves every good thing. And I learned more about his story, which I'll tell Joshua later. But let's just say Adam is an amazing, amazing man. I have to say thank you for all of the gifts I got from listeners, which was just crazy. It was the sweetest Christmas, the most bizarre and wonderful Christmas. Lois sent me a skeleton unicorn, a stuffed skeleton unicorn.
Oh, I saw on my way in. Oh,
yeah. Karina sent me a it's pronounced Mary Lloyd, but it's MaryLwyd, and it's a Welsh. I think I have, here it is. I can show Joshua. At first I thought someone was angry at me. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it's a a Welsh. The story behind it is amazing. She sent me an ornament, a Mary Lloyd ornament, and the story behind it is in the Welsh tradition at Christmas time, you would put on a horse skull on a stick and then wrap yourself in like a ghosty outfit and go to people's houses, and it's almost like a rap battle or a poetry slam.
From house to house?
Mm-hmm. You go to someone's house and you go back and forth either in a song or a poem, and whoever gives up first, if you give up, then you have to move on to another house. If they give up, they have to invite you in for food and drink.
I want to do this.
It's like a fucked up version of like Trick or Treat.
Yes.
Welsh people are strange. I just want to say that.
With a horse skull on your head.
With a horse skull. No, and it's on a pole, but you're kind of under it, and then you have this like ghosty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's what this looks like.
So if you opened this up, would you be like, "Wow, someone's angry at me"? Would you? Because I thought like, somebody's mad at me, and I don't know why.
It's definitely a dead horse. It's a colorful.
Yeah. It's got like the
beautiful,
like stitching, or it looks like a Frankenhorse.
Yeah.
And the eyes have an X on them. I mean, you can tell it's not alive. So I was like, is this like a mafia thing?
Right.
Like someone sending me a message?
Right.
No, it was Sweet Karina, because I had mentioned I was Welsh.
Oh, okay.
And there was no card. So I'm like, someone's...
Oh, there wasn't even a card? Oh.
No, I had to put on Facebook, hey, anybody want to take credit for this fucking monstrosity? And then I find out it's not a threat. It's a gift. Man. And she's like, remember that time you said? And I'm like, yes, but I didn't know.
Wow.
I didn't know what it was. But anyway.
Wow.
Thank you, Karina. And a box of stuff from Debbie that was so overwhelming, I can't mention everything. But let's just say I have one of the unicorn stickers on my new tumbler.
Nice.
And the gift certificate to Graveline from Emily and Alicia, which I'm going to kick their asses. I don't usually make movie recommendations, but I'm gonna, because it ties in to a podcast. And the recommendation is The Holdovers. I got to see it with Mark's cousin and her husband, who is a screenwriter, and he gets screeners from, the Academy or whatever. Right. And it's fucking phenomenal. And Paul Giamatti had better be nominated for a motherfucking Best Actor, or I'm going to protest. I don't know that it's for everybody, but it's definitely for me. I'm not a huge Alexander Payne fan. Sometimes I like him. Sometimes he's too esoteric for me. It's like you're like a kind of a pompous dick. Okay. The Holdovers is like a very cool old fashioned movie. Granted, it was supposed to take place in like 1970 through 1971 through the holiday of turning to 71. And they did a great job, from costuming to hair to cars. But it doesn't matter. That part is great, but it doesn't matter. The part that is so phenomenal is Paul Giamatti.
Cool.
Who is phenomenal. So I've always loved him, but I went down to Paul Giamatti. I'd heard him recently on other podcasts being interviewed, and he was so funny and fast and smart. And I went on a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I found out he hosts his own podcast.
Oh, he does.
It's fucking amazing.
Is it? Oh.
And again, not for everybody. It's called Chinwag, which is a British term for talking.
Sure.
And he is partnered with a guy who's a professor, and they're both into conspiracies and cryptids.
Okay.
So they talk about, Bigfoot and Loch Ness and ghosts. And he'll occasionally have on like, Don Cheadle, like he has, it's like Smartless meets, a conspiracy.
Okay.
So it's not exactly all like A-list celebrities that are friends of these three dudes.
Sure.
It's much looser than that.
Okay.
But this professor is funny.
Cool.
Their origin story is incredible. They met online. Paul Giamatti contacted, his name is Stephen Asma, and it's spelled ASMA, and he makes a big deal about his name being, like a disease,
Yeah.
But he's a professor, and he's funny and smart and adds a weird context. And Paul Giamatti contacted him about something, and they became buds and then hosted this fucking podcast.
That's awesome.
It is. It's funny and weird. Some of them aren't as fascinating as others. Some of them are amazingly. They have an Egyptologist on, a female Egyptologist who teaches at UCLA, I think, and she is fantastic. She's funny and weird and talking about ancient Egyptian penis sculptures, and I mean they're funny, and Yeah. Anyway, I love this podcast. It may not be something for you, but if it is, like, give it a listen, and give it one or two listens. Don't just like pick one. I hate when people pick one and like, it's not for me. Nothing's for you right away.
Sure.
Very few times do you read or listen to something and go, that's it. That's the one. You have to sometimes give it a little, and they've done like maybe 40, 45 episodes. It's, but he is committed to doing it. And Paul Giamatti has the best laugh I've ever heard.
Nice.
It's like a teenage girl.
Okay.
It's high pitched. It's like, hee.
Okay, so it's not something that he's done as a character in a movie. Like I was trying to picture.
That's the other thing about this. He is authentically himself.
Okay, cool.
There is no acting.
Cool.
In this, he's just acting like Paul Giamatti, who's 12.
Cool. Okay.
He is funny and childish and goofy and smart. He is a history buff, so he knows great questions to ask in the midst of, penis sculptures.
Okay.
He can be 12 and he can be a learned professor at the same time.
Cool.
But his laugh, when he really laughs, it's a sound from deep inside his soul, and it is the fucking best. It's the fucking best. So
nice.
Okay. So we have a whole lot of like updates coming up over the holidays. We got so many emails and phone calls and the most insane things. I haven't even updated Joshua because we've both been kind of, under the weather. I can't wait to actually tell you a couple things, but there's going to be a lot going on in the coming weeks. Okay. But I'm going to ask the Tip-Sters for a favor. I'm going to ask you to give us a rating or review. We would be really grateful. Or tell a friend about us. I really want 2024 to be a year where this podcast gets a broader audience. So Definitely. If you know somebody who might enjoy this podcast, please tell them. I don't know that word of mouth really, is the best grassroots effort, but it's all I can, afford right now. So if you could, just please tell somebody you think might enjoy this podcast, share this with somebody. That's such a gift to us. You can't imagine. I've had two people tell me recently, well, my niece, when I told her what you do, she's now obsessed and listens to you on her commute. And then another friend who I spent Christmas Eve with said, I just want you to know, my cousin came out to visit last year and I told her from Arizona, I told her about your podcast and now she listens every week in her car and she's obsessed with you. And I'm like, those are the kind of things that are priceless. Beautiful. Priceless. So if somebody, if you think there's somebody, that might enjoy the podcast, would you mind telling them about it? We'd be really grateful.
Nice.
And thank you to our newest YouTube subscriber, Stephanie M. Welcome aboard. We love hearing from you on YouTube. So this is a case that was sent to us from Tipster Debbie, and she is originally from New Hampshire. And she sent me several cases, and I was like, one of them is the one that is most close to her heart is a child. And I will be honest, it's so uncomfortable. I can't. Uh-oh. I have a hard time covering cases with kids, even though I don't have any kids. The idea. And it appears to be someone close to her, probably a family member. And I can't. There's not only is there not enough information about the case, you're left with really only one or two options as to what happened to her, and neither are anything I could even talk about.
Right. Wow.
But of the three cases Debbie sent me, this one stuck out like a sore thumb, and it is layered. And the more I dug, this woman's brother will not give up. It's a little like the young baby case in that you're left with only a couple of ideas of who might have done this, and both of them might be people close to her.
Okay.
But, you'll make your own assessments and decisions. Online, everybody's pointing to one.
Okay.
I think it's kind of the same person that her brother is pointing to, but definitely there is the other that I think it would be difficult to pick who you. I think both have been investigated and they just don't have enough because I think it's pretty clear somebody close to her did this. So her name is Roberta Miller. She went by Bobbie. And in 2010, sometime, they narrowed it down finally, sometime between Halloween, October 31st at 4 p.m. and November 1st at 5 p.m., someone, no forced entry, got into her home that she had just purchased after almost settling a remarkably contentious divorce. Like a really bad.
Okay.
So she is at her home in Gilford, New Hampshire on Country Club Road, 54-year-old Bobbie Miller. And she had spoken to her mother and said she was going to make flower boxes for the windows for her new home. Here's the thing that is so interesting to me. You can talk all day long about a human being being killed. And when you talk about an animal being killed, people lose their fucking shit.
Yeah.
So Bobbie Miller and her dog, Sport, were both shot multiple times.
Oh, boy.
Her big, beautiful lab, kind of a golden yellow lab, were shot at her home. Her son found her on November 1st.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So investigators, it was turned over to the State Police Major Crime Unit because Gilford PD is small. And they, kept the area around her house closed for a long time, roped off, and they were really investigating. And, there's no forced entry, no signs of struggle. Ironically, something like $36,000 left in the house.
In cash?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Cash, and I guess like 20 something in cash and like maybe 10 something in like checks or something that someone else could, like money orders or something that they could get and use themselves. It was and they were not hard to find.
Okay.
Like lying out kind of.
Oh boy.
So the super weird relationship with her husband, Gary Miller. So he had a big successful car dealership like Gary Miller Ford or Gary Miller Chevrolet, big successful car dealership. They were married 26 years. I have a daughter and a son.
Okay.
They had been going through this divorce for 3 years, since 2007.
Yeah. Been there.
Yeah. 3 years?
All 3 years in a week, actually.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. This was a little over 3 years, and it was, coming down to the fine points of this settlement, all about money.
Yeah.
Large amount of money. Taxes, liability on taxes, sure. Who gets what house, or the house that he lived in. He was at burned to the ground.
Oh, geez.
It was heated by propane.
Okay.
He was not home at the time, and the police said it was arson.
Oh, boy.
No one's ever been convicted.
Oh, boy.
So it's so, okay.
Wow.
So let me take a step back. So her and her husband it's really contentious. Now, she was supposed to be in court either the day she was found or the day after for this contempt of court proceeding that her husband had filed against her.
Okay, so it's still going.
Yes, but almost done.
Okay, got it.
Almost done. It's like in this almost weird nebulous thing.
Okay.
So she had been given $928,051 total dollars she received over the course of the divorce. So that's like over, I guess, 3 years. His attorney, who, filed this motion for contempt, and saying that what they were fighting over was about $68,000 that her husband said she had agreed to pay half of the 2009 income tax liability under the terms of the settlement. Roberta argued in court that she lacked the ability to pay.
Mm-hmm.
His attorney says, one of two things must be true. Either Ms. Miller has squandered close to $1 million in cash during the course of this divorce and is unable to pay, or she hasn't and therefore has the money to pay.
Okay.
Of the $928,051 total dollars she's received, she has refused to itemize anything more than $100,000 in legal fees, $110,000 in personal taxes, totaling $210,000. This leaves over $718,000 left unaccounted for by Ms. Miller. That's what Gary Miller's attorney says. The funds that the attorney refers to in his contempt motion are assets distributed to both Gary and I, this is her response, over the last 3.5 years. Gary's funds, I am sure, have gone to the same place mine has. Taxes due to his Sanford, Gary Miller Ford dealership business.
Okay.
Over $100,000 in lawyers' fees, over $110,000 in personal taxes on these funds, mortgages, real estate taxes, college tuition for my son and I. She had to go back to school because all she had was a high school education and she has to now support herself.
Right.
Lawsuits on marital homes from the 2 houses, 2 tractor repairs to maintain the marital home and other properties, car payments, health insurance, and bills, along with living expenses while I've been unemployed for almost a year. Roberta Miller said. She said, yes, I have no counsel. I have spent over $100,000 on this divorce to date, which is overwhelming. I have no more funds to pay outrageous costs to lawyers who prolong this agreed upon settlement.
Sure.
I am unemployed with no income, no alimony, no support. I'm a 54-year-old with a high school education, now attending college full-time to try and support myself. I'm living on $500 a month in the most difficult economic time in decades. This is what she said October 14th. 2 weeks later, she's murdered. So she was going back to school and trying to get a business degree.
Okay.
Mr. Miller was urging the court to find his ex-wife in contempt of court's order on the final decree of their divorce and a subsequent order requiring Roberta to pay $74,000, her share of the tax liability, plus all the interest and penalties caused by her late payment. He also asked the court to award him $6,097 in legal fees for 17.9 hours of attorney time at $325 an hour. If his attorney's $325 an hour, he's getting a bargain. That's typically what a paralegal gets.
Yeah, $325. I was going to say $325 is
now that's 2010.
Yeah, okay, maybe 2010.
But still.
And it's not California family law attorney.
Good
fees.
point. Good point. It's New Hampshire because I'm like $325, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're getting off easy. Yeah. I was like, wow. The fees claimed herein were incurred entirely due to Ms. Miller's litigation tactics, which have unnecessarily increased legal fees in this matter. Had Ms. Miller simply complied with the terms of the settlement agreement, none of these fees would have been incurred. This is what Gary Miller's attorney wrote in an affidavit of the damages. On the 10th of November, the 4th of November. So it would have been 3 days after she was found, there was the hearing was scheduled to be held that day.
Okay.
But she was murdered on Halloween or somewhere in the 1st.
Yeah, okay.
According to records at the Carroll County Registry of Deeds, 1 week ago, October 28th, Roberta Miller placed her home at 82 Haynes Hill Road into the JJB Trust. She was awarded the house valued at $600,000 under the terms of the divorce that was granted. 3 days after that divorce was finalized, she purchased her home on Country Club Road. She placed her home at Country Club Road into the JJB Trust, of which she was the trustee last Friday. Friday night, the home that Gary Miller had received in the divorce, they had several properties located on Great East Lake in Acton, Maine, burned to the ground. The fire chief, Ed Walsh, confirmed the cause of the fire that was reported at 9:30 p.m. is being investigated by the fire marshal's office. Gary Miller had been at the home earlier in the day, but was not there when the fire broke out. The house was heated by propane. It was reported to be caused by arson.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were going to say something, and I held my finger up to give you.
Go ahead. I was just going to confirm. So these were their houses together, and okay, let's agree. Take that one. Yeah, I'll take this one.
Right, and then she bought a separate house,
and then she bought a new one. Okay.
Right, and then he kept the lake house, which
and then someone
set it on fire and then murdered her and the dog.
All right,
2 days later.
Okay.
Now, here's what I'm going to say. Everyone would think it's the husband.
I mean, the husband definitely needs some investigation for sure.
I bet he has been.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're in the midst of a divorce, and like you mentioned, California law versus New Hampshire law.
Sure.
Would he have gotten anything back that she had gotten in the divorce?
Oh, if their divorce isn't final? Yeah, I don't know specifically, but if their divorce isn't final, they're still married. So right. All of their property would, in my extensive legal knowledge, no, right. I would think that all of their property is still their property. It's still shared.
Now she had put it in a trust. So I don't know what JJB trust is. Remember, right. They have a daughter and a son.
Right.
Daughter's name is Jennifer. I think the son's name is Jonathan. So JJ could be the son and the daughter.
JJ and then Bobbie.
Maybe
is the B.
Yep. Okay. Maybe that's it.
Okay. Well, I mean that would make sense.
Would he get it if it were in a trust? She had put it in a trust on Friday and was murdered on Sunday/Monday.
I mean, it does not sound like that would be community property anymore.
Okay.
I don't think
her son.
I don't know. Okay.
Is the person that her brother points to every time.
Oh, okay.
Her brother is not even quiet about it anymore and points fingers at her son.
Right.
Her son, Jonathan, found her. I think his name's Jonathan. Found her.
Okay.
Lots of questions. Would you kill the dog first so he doesn't protect your mom or your wife or this person you kill who you're not related to? Sure. Or would, you would be able to get in without a struggle because the dog knows you? Is the dog a security dog, or is my pet sitter, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but as my pet sitter said yesterday when she came over so I could give her Christmas present, you're the worst guard dog ever, Siren. And the thing is, she's kind of right, but I do think if anyone were to hurt me,
if
she knew what was going on, I think she'd kill people.
Well, absolutely.
I hope that's true.
Absolutely.
Because we had a German Shepherd girl, Belladonna, who was sweet, but she was sort of my dog. And one time a friend's husband pretended to choke me.
Yeah.
Pretended to choke me. And she got a hold of his shirt sleeve. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. It's all right. This is mommy's friend. And the rest of the night, she was like, I'm watching you.
Yeah. Yeah, in it.
So, yeah, now, Siren's not like that. But I think if she understood something bad were happening, she might get like all, anxiety and energetic. But I think she'd figure it out. She's smart.
Oh, totally.
But she loves everyone. She wants to, eat Joshua from the ankles up.
But every time I walk in, you greet me fondly. If I were to walk in and your energy were, why are you
Joshua's
brandishing
trying
a
to
gun?
Kill me, right?
Then I think she would switch too. She would read that.
I hope so. I don't know a lot about dog psychology, but I mean, it was just so funny when Lisa goes, "You're the worst guard dog ever." I'm like, you shut up. You stop talking about my dog. She is kind of.
She's a really good guard dog. She tries to protect you from the mail.
Yeah, the UPS guy is on her shit list. The Amazon guy is gonna
any other dog in the neighborhood that might want to try and harm you?
She loves all other dogs and most people. Delivery people. There is something, I guess, in their, way back in their reptile brain. All delivery people that come up to the house are going to kill you. Anyone who actually approaches the door, you're right. I mean, she knows it's you.
Oh, I think she can sense me coming around.
Yeah, like heading from your house.
Canyon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This dog Sport just looked like the sweetest fucking big golden lab or blonde lab, and I call him. Yeah, I just feel so like heartbroken that somebody, I know that's so dumb, but like to kill the dog and then kill her. Maybe you had to because maybe you killed her first and the dog was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then tried to come after you. I don't know.
If it's someone you know,
right,
then the dog is going to remember. So the dog is going to hate you forever.
Oh.
The dog would end up calling you out.
That I didn't think about.
I mean, because if you leave the dog there.
That makes sense. If you don't kill the dog, anytime you come around, they'd be like, hey, do you want your mom's dog? Sure. And the dog wants to eat your face off. That's a great point, Joshua. I had not thought about that. And it's a boy, it's a boy dog. They always say female dogs are more protective, but I don't know. This big, beautiful lab was her dog,
Right.
It just, her brother, Ken Dion, is the kind of advocate you want in your life. They put a huge billboard up with a $55,000 reward on any information on Bobbie's murder. They change the picture out periodically in case people see her in a different way or saw her with different, a better, clearer picture. Right. I mean, he appears at rallies for, victims. He's a very smart man and said, this is and since 2010, this is the 5th lead detective my sister's case has had.
Wow.
He wants legislation, and it would never pass because I just talked to a detective yesterday who said, I'm in a different division now, but I will let you know about this case. I'm like, son of a bitch. People get promoted or transferred, but his idea is that he said, do you understand how difficult it is when family members have bonded with a detective over your family member's murder, and now you have to start all over again with a new person? It would be terrible.
Yeah.
It would be like you're in the foster system and you're being adopted or fostered out to different people all the time, except you're talking about a murder.
Yeah.
So I love his idea, but it needs refining. He's very upset at, the legal system in New Hampshire, the police, the local police, the state police, the, criminal investigation division that handles the state. And he said, our victim's advocate will no longer respond to me, maybe because they're upset at me speaking out.
Wow.
Isn't that heartbreaking?
Yeah. Jeez.
So he wants legislation passed probably across the country, but definitely for the state of New Hampshire, where if you get a lead detective on a murder case, they stay with it.
Sure.
Until they retire or until it's solved.
Okay.
That is like a dream.
I mean, yeah.
It doesn't happen often. I will tell you 5 in, 13 years. That seems like a lot.
It does. Yeah. And the other side of it would be like, oh, how about some fresh eyes on there?
Yeah.
But
having someone else come in.
That's way too many.
I don't think any case is solved with a single proprietor.
Sure.
I think every case, it's a village.
Right.
From people who, do research for you or who call in tips or, you get help from a podcast or from a billboard or, it takes a village. And everything you can put out there to get attention on a case is helpful. I, to the best of my ability, understand how Ken Dion feels. And I respect the fact that he wants legislation for one investigator per case to hold on. It doesn't mean they can't have help or outside,
Sure.
but holy fucking shit. 5 in, 13 years now. That's a lot. That's like almost every 2.5 years, I guess. You get somebody new, and you just get them up to speed, and then it changes.
Right.
And then you have to start all over. And honestly, little details end up sometimes meaning everything.
Right.
And little details in one person's head may not be expressed or written down or registered. And then somebody else has to start over, and they don't even have that little detail that might change their outlook on everything.
Sure.
So this is the difficult part. I mean, I don't know that. I know it has split the family.
Yeah.
I know that part. I don't know if that happened during the divorce, which, as you can tell, was pretty contentious.
Right.
Or after her murder.
Yeah.
I feel like to think a family member killed your sister. She was one of 6 kids. And Ken is the baby of the family.
Okay.
And he's like, my older sister was one of my best friends.
Oh, man.
I know. That's why I'm not kidding you. This guy is the most amazing vocal advocate I've seen in a while. He is out there fighting to get his sister's case solved, like everywhere that will listen.
Yeah.
He goes to marches and gives speeches, and he is an eloquent speaker about things like this. So I can't imagine being in a family that thinks one or another family member did this.
Yeah, whether you're right or not, that's
right.
Just the idea that you think somebody might. Wow.
Right. Just to have that sort of suspicion is heartbreaking. I mean, that's really heartbreaking to think you suspect family. Right. I hate to say this because I understand to the best of my ability his pain, but he says what it comes down to is follow the money. And I believe he thinks, I don't think he thinks his niece Jennifer did anything. And Jennifer is a sweet spokesperson who has talked about her mom and the worst day of her life, finding out. Right. I don't know that Jonathan's ever been interviewed. He, I think, was maybe in college at the time, and he would come and spend some time with his mom.
Okay.
It feels like, and I could be very wrong, but it feels like people sort of thought he was like, didn't have his shit together and was kind of a mooch.
Got it.
I don't know that that's any kind of a thing that would propel you to kill your mom.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people with silver spoons that don't murder their parents.
That's right. Exactly. Or even like stainless spoon. Doesn't even have to be silver.
Sure.
The fact that there was so much money left in the house that was not difficult to find.
Yeah. If there's cash.
Right.
And Dad still is running his Ford dealership, so he's still able to be mooched off of.
Maybe right? He and his dad weren't. He was. They said he was definitely mama's boy, like close to his mom, very close to his mom. So that's another thing that makes me think: would you then kill her?
Yeah. Wow.
I don't. I think that her brother is so hurt and angry that he has nowhere else to look. I have no idea who else is in her life. There's no reports. It could be a fuckface she's dating. A fuckface that's obsessed with her.
Right.
A stalker. I mean, it could be a lot of things that aren't family.
Or the husband's girlfriend.
Right.
Who's impatient for the divorce going through.
Good point.
I mean, it could be a million different whatever things, right? Like
women typically don't shoot, they stab.
Yeah,
but that's a great point. It could be any number of outsiders that are in the realm of the insiders.
Right.
You typically think most people, it's like 80, the percentage is very high. Like 80 to 85% of people are murdered by people that they know.
Right.
I don't have a clue about her personal life. All I know is, her mom was like, she was going to make flower box. She'd gone and there was a charge. She'd gone to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's to get the supplies to build flower boxes. Jeez. That's like, the most I know about her. And her not having an attorney, she wrote extremely well-written responses to her husband's attorney.
It sounds like she's got her stuff together.
Yes.
I mean, she's a super intelligent woman. And I'm imagining, we also don't know about the dealership, but I'm going to guess it was a partnership. She didn't just sit back. I mean, if she's this bright, she was probably involved in growing the business that much.
That's interesting because she said, I've been unemployed for 1 year, and it's like I need to go back to college to get a better degree, but I worked at my husband's business. That's probably true. Or contributed somehow. That's true. That's interesting.
Somehow in there, he doesn't care if there's a piece of paper on the wall or not.
Right.
But trying to get hired in the capacity that she was actually doing for this many years.
Right. That's interesting.
She would need a degree.
Right. At this point in her life, you're exactly right. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, it does. I hate as much. I'm trying to think of other things that could be, but it just sounds like it comes down to money. It just, it's so, it's so gross and icky. And, she was like starting, a new chapter in her life, and he could have been trying to start a new chapter in his life. And no matter what weird shit, the house burning down and the contentious divorce, it just feels like maybe there isn't enough to point to either one.
Right.
But yet, though they're, both, in my mind, they're sort of equal, but her brother is just really like, nope, it's my nephew.
Okay.
I know. And you don't know if that just is coming from pain or from information he has that we don't have yet.
And maybe it's, he has this idea, but it's just not enough for a detective to
they don't have enough proof yet.
Right.
Well, I can tell you, they're trying hard. And again, I don't want anyone to ever be swayed by a reward, but there's a $55,000 reward still in play. And the billboard is still up, and people have messaged. It's like, I pass this billboard every day and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, wow.
So if you happen to know anything about what happened to Roberta Bobbie Miller and her dog Sport on October 31st or November 1st of 2010, will you please call the New Hampshire State Police? They're still asking for neighbors, anyone who saw anything or anyone, to please contact the state police headquarters at 603-223-4381. And if you prefer not to contact them, you can always contact us at 832-Tip-Ster. That's 832-847-7837. You can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any social media platform at just the Tip-Sters Facebook page, at JT Tip-Sters on Instagram, at JT Tip-Sters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.